So there's a lot that Shane Dawson is going to be able to learn from Jeffree Star throughout this series. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the importance of mentors, and also, will Jeffree Star turn Shane Dawson into a psychopath? Been here before. I have been donating 20% of ad revenue to various charities, trying to time in with the topic of the video, things like that. Anyways, for this video, I chose the Trevor Project. So be sure to share this video. 20% of the ad revenue will go straight to the Trevor Project, and down in the description, down in the pinned comment below, I will also be providing a direct donation link if you would like to donate to them directly. All right? But yeah, anyway.
All right, here we go. So here's the meat of this sandwich. This video, will Jeffree Star turn Shane Dawson into a psychopath? Okay, so remember in the last video when I was pointing out how it's strange that he's shocked that Jeffree Star is feeling this anxiety about product launches, etc., and how where would you actually get the idea that he doesn't? Now, as much as this is going to be more of a little bit of a layman's version of sociopathy and psychopathy, etc., I feel like it sticks in this context, given the Shane Dawson is Jake Paul a sociopath, Katie Morton drama from a year ago that led a lot of people to the Rewired Soul's channel, to now here we are with the beautiful world of Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson doing it and his channel and all of this stuff. We have now found ourselves solidly on the rock where the Rewired Soul has made a video insinuating that another YouTube celebrity, I want to just say celebrity in general with Jeffree Star. I've known who he was since 2005 on MySpace, so I'm not even going to pretend like I don't think he's just a fucking celebrity. All right, there's an F-bomb deserved. Okay, anyway, my point is, how do you go from someone suffers from anxiety when they're putting out launches and they're experiencing a fear of public scrutiny and judgment, and then you insinuate that they're a psychopath? It doesn't actually add up. So I feel like there is this crux, and the fact that these were the videos on this that are right back to back. So previously, his secret to success was the fact that he suffers from anxiety, but now he's potentially a psychopath. And again, if you watch the Get Ready With Me, where I introduced the two series that I'm doing right now, Lockout, Tagout, and Cat in an Aquarium, I made the comment of imagine titling a video like this and then talking about mentoring for 10 minutes straight. So that's what we're about to get into now. 13 minutes and 7 seconds of trying to justify alluding to the fact that Jeffree Star is a psychopath, I guess I should say insinuating that Jeffree Star is a psychopath, in order to title this video to talk about mentorship. So does psychopathy even make an appearance again? I haven't watched this video since it came out on October 3rd, I think. This was the one that made me go, so that's been what, at least 2 weeks. What is today? Going on almost 3 weeks. So I don't feel like he's actually covering the series. He's using the series and all of the books that he reads to make clickbaity videos about things that he could just be making videos about on their own. But I mean, let's continue.
So if I was on that list, I would be in the bottom 1,000. You know what I mean?
Okay, but a lot of people think that you are doing well. You are doing well. You're just not doing Jeffree well. I own my merchandise company. I print, manufacture everything myself. So I have about 10 businesses that I'm currently running, besides my brand, which is the giant cosmetics company. So I'm constantly doing shit, and people just don't really know about it. I don't talk about it. I don't think it's exciting. I don't think people are going to want to watch or see it.
That's everything. What are you talking about? I do want to try. I want this series, but also this year. I want to be smarter about this, and I want to know more about business, making a product, learning about the business side, and
anxiety in the house.
I just don't know what that business is. I don't know how to do anything.
This is one of the most important things that I just wish everybody would understand, and that is find yourself a mentor, all right? If you like reading, Russell Brand came out with an amazing book earlier this year called Mentors, and he talks about the importance of mentors. And I can really relate to Russell Brand because I too am a recovering addict. I've been clean for 7 years, and we're taught that in various recovery programs and things like that. But Shane Dawson talking about, not being that great with money, and Shane Dawson hasn't really ran a business before. He's written books and he sells merch and things like that. But there's a lot that he can learn from Jeffree Star. And here is just one of the most important things that I learned. If there's somewhere that you want to be, you want to go, learn from someone who's already there or who has been there.
I literally thought that this was broken, and then I've been watching these on like 1.75 speed, and I literally thought it was broken because it felt like it was normal speed, and I reset it, all this stuff, and like, okay, it's actually at 1.75 speed, which is something else that like I've noticed with him. If I watch his videos on normal speed, it's really like watching someone try to draw everything out very slowly, and I don't know why. Did he just say that Shane Dawson was terrible with money? I don't think he's ever insinuated that. He's just saying that he's not money driven. So, like, there was a comment on one of the future videos where someone had pointed out that there's like a little bit of a, like, how to summarize this, like that there was a point in one of the videos where Jeffree was telling Shane about how his series last year had changed his life and really elevated his brand and changed everything, and I guess like that he was making so much more money, and then how like Shane kind of like, oh yeah, isn't that funny, and like kind of side eye, and that the person who had put the comment was like insinuating that it sounds like through all of this stuff though that Jeffree gained from Shane Dawson's series, he's never kicked back to Shane. But then it's like, well, what was it in January when he bought him all that Gucci stuff and whatnot? But
mentors who have helped me become a little bit more financially responsible, all right? And part of this requires like humility and recognizing like we don't know everything. And the best thing that we can do is find somebody who does understand this, all right? One of the best things about mentors that I learned when I first got sober is they are free, all right?
no, they're not. That's really, and like I said, like, it's been 3 weeks since I watched this video. So when I went off on the previous rant, I did not know that this was coming, okay? And kind of similar to the other videos too, because I watched them once but not really paying attention. But to that end, this is really kind of funny too. In one breath, the great thing about mentors is that they're free, and then I go to therapy. You pay your therapist. You may have insurance payment. Oh, the great thing about mentors is that they're free, right? Your therapist isn't free, right? Your people mentoring you isn't necessarily free, right? They're getting something out of it eventually in some way, shape, or form, or at the very least are kind of expecting to get a little bit of an acknowledgement out of it. Like, it's not free. It's not taking advantage of people, which I feel, I don't know why. I'll give it that. I'm not entirely sure why, but I get the weird vibe from him.
Anyways, therapy is a great option. Like, I have a therapist as well, but there's only so much a therapist can help me with. So if you can afford therapy, get therapy, all right? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have mentors as well, because a major part of improving our mental and emotional well-being is having a support group. But a great example of this is when I first got sober, I had no money, no health insurance, nothing. I didn't get sober through a rehab like many people are able to do. So I had to find a lot of mentors in my recovery programs who knew how to stay sober, knew how to be happy, and get their life back together. I had to learn from those people. So like, I know I get a lot of messages, DMs, comments, and things like that. Like, but Chris, I can't afford therapy. Find people who are where you want to be and start talking to them. Like, sometimes you literally just ask them, like, will you be my mentor? You know what I mean?
This might just be the introvert in me speaking here, but like, that's actually really fucking aggravating. And I know like people, oh my God, that's so mean and that's not helpful and like whatever. Like I said, take some of this with a little bit of a weaker argument grain of salt, but like that is like my worst nightmare at this point. People reaching out to ask me for help and advice and how do you do that? Oh, here was a big one. Years ago or whatever. So like I've gained all of the weight that I lost back and then some, but there was a point in my life when I'd lost like close to 130 pounds. And I constantly had people that I hadn't heard from in years hitting me up on Facebook about how did you do it? But it was always like, what pills did you take? And what diet did you do? And what work? And it was like, no, I literally just counted calories and fat and worked out and just got into shape and did stuff. And like, I would walk the mile to the grocery store and get stuff for like, you know, whatever, like normal, regular, just diet and exercise type stuff. But I kept getting pressed for an answer that was like this miracle cure. And after a while, it just was too much, right? So, you know, as far as that whole manage your expectations and stuff goes, like, manage though what you get used to asking people for help with, because sometimes you're asking people for help with stuff that they were able and capable of just figuring out for themselves. And it's funny because I remember I had a discussion similar to this with my roommate. There was an opportunity that kind of arose where I was able to slip it into conversation, but I get this sensation from my roommate a lot too, where it's like, you are actually just bothering me for stuff that you could get elsewhere.
You know what I mean? And like, it doesn't have to be like on a career path. Like, if there's somebody who is just happier than you are, and you're trying to figure that out, like, how is this person so happy, so serene, so tranquil? Like, reach out to them and talk to them and say, how do you do this? Another great option too, if you're low on money, is something that I've been really diving into the past few years, which is books, right? Like, some of the greatest wisdom throughout the history of mankind is documented in books.
No. Really?
Right? So if you have that kind of like social anxiety, you're not, up to like reaching out to people, you just don't know anybody who might make a good mentor, like, pick up some books. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, that's what I was just talking about. Like, you could probably find like the stuff that you want to ask somebody about and like get a mentor. You could just go find a book. Someone has put this in writing, right? There's probably a life coach you could pay to go watch them do a seminar. Like, if I paid, I don't know how much it cost, but like if I paid like $100, if I bought a Tony Robbins book and then I paid $100 to go see him in person and ask him a question in the meet and greet when he's signing my book, why do you get to come bend my ear for an hour and a half while I've provided snacks? Because you want help. Go seek the help, right? Like, the regular people in your life aren't necessarily the sources that you should be getting this stuff from.
Like, pick up some books. Now, some of you are probably wondering about the title of this video. So yeah, will Jeffree Star turn Shane Dawson into a psychopath? So another one of the great books I just finished reading was The Psychopath Test by Jon Ronson. All right, and he's an amazing author. I love that dude.
He's a great author because he's a journalist. So this is going to come up again when I post the video about the Is Onision a Psychopath video. So I'm not going to address anything about Jon Ronson here. He is a great speaker and writer, and I'll give him credit for that. So let's just keep moving.
The first book I read was So You've Been Publicly Shamed. Those of you who know me, that was very relatable. But anyway, The Psychopath Test is a great book, but it has these kind of twists and turns. At first he goes in just kind of trying to learn more about psychopaths, but then he starts to figure out that, there's a difference between like being a pure psychopath and having psychopathic tendencies, right? So before anybody jumps down my throat and says, "Oh, you're diagnosing Jeffree Star," no, there are things like tendencies. Logan Paul we were talking about during Shane Dawson's series with Jake Paul.
I've never understood this whole tendencies. It sounded like bullshit when Logan Paul was saying it last year. It sounds like bullshit now. Like, there's a marked difference between, like, okay, look at it this way, right? This is like saying everyone has flu-like tendencies because sometimes something flies up your nose and you have to sneeze. Sometimes you have allergies. Sometimes you get a sinus infection. Sometimes you eat funny food and it makes your stomach queasy. Like, we don't go around saying that people have flu-like tendencies, right? The disorder is a disorder, right? Psychopathy is like an extended version of antisocial personality disorder, right? Narcissistic personality disorder is a marked disorder. There is no you have tendencies, right? When you're saying somebody has narcissistic tendencies, you're saying that they have the tendency to act like an arrogant bitch, okay? That's what you're saying. That using the terminology in this twisted kind of a way, and this is why on a comment to one of his videos, I suggested that he pick up Quine's 2 Dogmas of Empiricism. Since he likes to read so much, kind of like, why don't you actually read something that has other than supermarket value, right? These books and stuff that he's talking about are things that you can just pick up at the supermarket or Barnes and Noble. Like, why don't you actually read some papers or really actually dive in? If you're so interested in moral philosophy, why aren't you looking up things on the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy? And so now I understand that these are the sorts of things that you would want a mentor for. So we've kind of come a little bit full circle, once again, to the kind of thing, though, that I'm talking about. Why should I have to be telling somebody where or how to get valid sources? This is something that I learned paying college tuition. So why should this is where consultants come into, like business consultants and all of that kind of stuff. People actually do get paid to mentor people. This information that people spread and stuff like that out of the goodness of their soul, they kind of expect a little bit of You know, like if I do it, it's because I think that there's a relationship there worth maintaining enough to be helping people. But as soon as they get my help and then I get dropped like a ton of bricks, you know, this kind of sours you on people a little bit. But now, like I said, I'm going down this whole personal path again. But just this idea, though, of that you can just take these technical terms and use them in the way that they're used in regular conversation in society is fairly inaccurate.
Well, a lot of us have tendencies, right? A lot of us have psychopathic tendencies or narcissistic tendencies and all these other things. And sometimes there are benefits to turning them on and off. So let's talk about this, for example. Like, there are many, entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs who have psychopathic tendencies, and that's what's helped make them successful. But what I'll talk about in a second is about how it all comes down to balance. So we're looking at people like Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. So Shane Dawson is on this kind of journey to figure out how to start, working in the makeup business. And, there's kind of already been some talk about how ruthless it can be, and like we've seen previews for the upcoming episodes and everything like that. And anybody who follows Shane Dawson, and this is something that came up when he was making videos with Katie Morgan, Shane Dawson is an empath. He feels a lot of what the other people feel, right? So what you're having with Jeffree Star is this kind of balance, because Jeffree Star, in order to be successful, he has to be able to detach himself a little bit from those emotions. And that does not make you a bad person, because there are many times where having psychopathic tendencies does benefit.
I feel like that right there, like that's one of those things in an argument where it's a claim that you actually need to back up with something other than just making the claim. That Jeffree Star has to be having psychopathic tendencies in order to have been successful, and put those feelings and stuff like that aside. It's more about managing your expectations and considering the sources of your criticism and all of that sort of stuff. I don't think that having a lack of empathy, like, and this speaks back to like the beginning of the previous video, right? Like, I don't see how he is, and when, like, just the glazing over, oh, I'm not diagnosing Jeffree Star as a psychopath, but you're asking if he's going to turn somebody else into one. So not only are you insinuating that he's a psychopath, you're also insinuating that it's contagious. However, right, this is the sort of like rigid accuracy that's expected of you when you're actually taking part in a discipline like this. So anyway, there's something that's just very odd about him trying to make this argument of whether or not Jeffree Star is going to harden the soul of Shane Dawson, like it's some sort of Maleficent Sleeping Beauty situation, is very, very bizarre. You're not disconnecting yourself emotionally. You're applying a different, like, you just talked about rational emotive behavior therapy and being logical. If you're a dentist, you purposefully went into a discipline in which you know that there's going to be a like causing of discomfort with people involved in doing your job. But as someone who's had a root canal before, I can tell you that the sensations of suffering from the infected tooth was a lot worse than the root canal. So like it's like tough love. He's literally got that phrase on merch. I do not, and this is the climax of this, I guess, do not understand this vein at all.
So looking at Jeffree Star, and just business people who have to do that. I just finished this amazing book I've been waiting for months for it to come out. It's called Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. By the way, I'll link all these books down in the description below if you want to check them out. But anyways, he talks about in this book, like one of the chapters is about learning to say no and not giving up too much of yourself. So the dude who started American Apparel, like that whole company went out of business because this guy gave too much of himself. He wasn't able to detach himself emotionally and say no in certain situations. So something they talk about in the book is that he gave everybody a cell phone number and everything like that. And when the company was smaller, that was something he could manage. But as the company grew and grew and grew and grew and grew, he was giving way too much of himself. And I can relate to that, especially with being too emotionally invested. So like I said, I'm a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. When my addiction first kicked off, I was a service advisor at a car dealership. I was so emotionally attached to everything that I did that it led to me being absolutely miserable and drinking myself into blackouts every single night, because customers would come in with their broken cars. Some of them were traveling, some of them didn't have the money to fix their cars, sometimes the technician would mess up their cars, sometimes parts would get ordered incorrectly and everything like that, and I felt so much and so bad that I would go home and just drink myself stupid because I was so emotionally invested in everything. And again, like I said,
he's also mentioned before in another, and I don't remember, because when I first started like and embarked on it, I went back through like all of his videos and I watched some from like various times and stuff like that. So I can't pinpoint to a particular moment in time, so I'll just make this blanket statement. He's introduced his burgeoning addiction from years ago as it relates to this service technician job from several different emotional standpoints. And so I'm not necessarily saying that he's being inaccurate, but it's in one moment, it's because it made him feel so emotionally sad and feel bad for these people. And then from another, it was this anger. So I'll like to expound on this a little bit. So like if somebody comes to you and you know that like they just can't afford these repairs, nor can they really be out of their car for getting back and forth to their jobs, like you can feel like, oh my gosh, this is like awful. I've been there, like literally I've been there, and stuff like that. And like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for these people. They're struggling now and this is horrible. But there's also, so CBC, the Canadian broadcasting company, has a series called Marketplace, and you can find these on YouTube. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the description. They have an episode about like working at these service dealerships and how they try to pressure these service technicians to sell people on services that they don't actually need because their position is essentially a sales position. So I can see how part of the job would be, I feel so bad for these people already, but my boss is literally making them trick them into spending more money for stuff that they don't need and yada, yada, yada. That whole like, but the cognitive dissonance of dealing with those two realities is what was causing you the stress. I've been through it before too in like BS jobs in retail and food service and stuff where you just don't see why trying to upsell people or force certain things on customers is necessarily a part of your minimum wage job and stuff like that. And that a lot of the stress comes from having entirely too many chiefs and not enough Indians. But anyway, I might have backlash for making that comment, but it's a colloquial statement, right? But that a lot of the backlash comes from like being like too many bosses, right? Too many things that you are burdened to and no way to actually rectify doing that job yourself without giving a piece of yourself. And then trying to make your brain shut off when it's all said and done is very difficult. And alcohol and drugs can certainly help with shutting you down at night. So anyway, back to the video.
You have to just stop caring. But a skill that we can develop is learning when to balance that emotion. The last example I'll give you is after I got sober, I was working at a drug and alcohol treatment center for a little over 3 years. And I developed a lot of relationships, just helping clients on their path of recovery and, while they were in treatment, because I was running groups and doing one-on-ones and everything like that. And I dealt with a lot of death. There were over 70 deaths in 3 years that I worked there. And sometimes I would get a call or a text or a message that someone just died. And it was like right before I had to go in and do a group in front of 50, 60 clients, right? And if my emotions got the best of me, I would not be able to be of service to the clients I was about to go help. You see what I mean? So I was able to learn how to detach myself from those emotions and kind of even shift those into motivation to help people. Like anytime I got a call that someone had relapsed or passed away, it motivated me to do that next group even better, to try to help these people, right?
He mentions this job frequently, and I just for a personal perspective, and I wouldn't ever expect him to actually answer this, I just wanted to point out like a point of curiosity is I wonder why he ever stopped doing that, because he seems to really enjoy doing stuff like this. I don't understand why he's trying to do this YouTube channel thing instead of just having an actual job in this rehab situation again. But I mean, like I said, I'm no judgment. It's just the curiosity. People ask me questions like that all the time because they don't know enough about me, what I'm saying? So like it's just a rhetorical, I wonder why he doesn't actually work there anymore.
Thank God for my support group, because I didn't just stuff those emotions down. Like, we have to feel these things. It's just sometimes there's a time and a place for them, you know what I mean? But thank God, like after work and everything like that, like I was able to turn to my amazing support group, my mentors and everything like that who had been through this before, and they were able to help me out emotionally. So I hope that makes sense, and finding that balance. So I hope we see during this journey with Shane Dawson being mentored by Jeffree Star, like I think we've already seen it in some of the previews, where Shane Dawson's gonna have to learn to become a little bit more of a badass,
I don't particularly view this as a mentoring relationship either. This is a business partnership. Jeffree is helping Shane Dawson brand an eyeshadow palettes and helping him produce a merchandise line because that's what he does. This is literally just business, bruh. I don't know where this mentorship idea is even coming from.